A lot of people are struggling to print TPU since it behaves quite a bit differently compared to rigid materials. With the wrong settings, you can often watch a print fail consistently at the same point over and over again. It's been over 2 years since I made a video about how to print ABS successfully, and hundreds of people are still watching it every day. So in this video, I'll show you how to print TPU. Contrary to most other filaments, TPU is soft and squishy. This makes it a lot harder to push through the hot end. If you ever tried to push a cable through ductwork, you'll know exactly what I mean. It tries to bend and twist everywhere, and with increasing distance, it's becoming harder and harder to move. With a cable, you can use the old pull it from the opposite side trick, but that doesn't work for your printer. To make things worse, TPU also has a rather rubbery texture and therefore a bit more friction than rigid materials. All this adds up the longer the distance from an extruder motor is. A direct extruder, where the motor sits right on top of the hot end, works best. The closer to the heat breaks inlet, the better. Bowden extruders can still work, but they are a lot more challenging. The same rules apply as for direct extruders. See, for every millimeter you push the filament forward, it squishes outwards a bit, eating up a portion of the pressure you created. This increases friction in the PTFE tube. They're made to be low friction, but they're by no means frictionless. This can lead to a kink in the filament right before the entrance of the Bowden tube or hot end. The smaller the gap between the extruder gears and the guided filament path, the better. Another thing coming into play here are your extruder gears and their tension. In general, lower tension is better for TPU since it's very easy for the teeth to get sufficient grip on the soft material. With too much gear tension, you will easily deform the material, which can lead to jams, and on some printer models, like my Prusa Mark III's, a gear position based filament runout sensor might trigger. Larger gears, which is where the current trend in extruder development is heading, don't deform the material as much while providing superior grip. They also don't strip out the filament as easily, even if they're only driven on one side. But that's usually not an issue you encounter with TPU anyway. Since they apply pressure over a larger area, TPU doesn't tend to bend as much though. Once pressure is built up and extrusion works, you're on the right track. But there are still a few things that can make your print fail halfway through. One of them is retraction is usually a topic flying completely under the radar. For rigid materials, you can basically push and pull the material as fast as possible and as often as necessary with no issues. For TPU and flexible materials in general, that's a whole different story. You usually need longer retraction distances and way slower retraction speed settings. But let's first have a brief look at why retraction is useful in the first place. To extrude plastic through the nozzle, there needs to be a bit of pressure built up behind it. Otherwise, the material wouldn't move much at all apart from oozing out a bit. While this pressure is necessary to extrude material, it becomes an issue when the printhead moves from one point of the print to another through empty space. Retraction moves the filament back a bit to relieve the pressure and prevent material from oozing out uncontrollably. But even then, some material might still ooze out, so the machine does a quick movement over an already printed area to wipe off excess material. To get back to printing, the pressure needs to be built up again. This is usually called de-retraction. With TPU, when retracting too fast, you might squish the string of material coming from the spool, often channeled through a PTFE tube, too much, which can lead to skipped steps on the extruder motor. The faster a stepper motor moves, the less torque it has overall. This is a bit hypothetical though. The retraction itself isn't usually the biggest problem. The real problems stem from building up the pressure again. In order to not get jammed, the filament needs to be pushed back into the hot end slowly. If retraction happens in rapid succession, even going slow might not prevent the tool head from getting jammed. On my Boron 0.2, for example, I couldn't get retraction to work reliably and I ended up deactivating it altogether. This isn't an insurmountable obstacle though. There are more factors at work which I could use to my advantage, like the amount of plastic oozing out largely depends on the remaining pressure and the time given to relieve that pressure. Even when a heated up printer just sits there and does nothing, you can observe how material oozes out slowly over a span of minutes. In this case, it's not just pressure anymore. there's also gravity involved. So maybe printing upside down is the solution. No, that's not how I tackle this. See, a slower moving printer leaves the filament more time to ooze out of the nozzle while traveling from A to B. Additionally, you can set a longer wipe distance before traveling to get rid of the largest chunk of leftovers before moving. You'll still get some stringing, but it will be a lot thinner and therefore easier to remove. With TPU, I haven't had much luck removing them with a heat gun. In my experience, they're easier to cut with a sharp knife or a razor. The other factor, absolutely crucial for a successful print, is your general print speed in terms of material throughput. I'm not talking about your millimeters per second settings. There's one single factor capping the maximum extrusion rate, and that is max volumetric speed in the filament profile. Different materials behave very distinct when melted and pushed through the nozzle. Some flow easier than others. This is expressed in a value called the melt flow rate. Generally speaking, PLA and ABS flow very well, PETG quite a bit worse, and TPU is notoriously bad in comparison. This generalization applies primarily to injection molding though. In 3D printing, there are more factors at work. Your filament is usually kept at room temperature, so it takes more time to get up to ABS extrusion temperatures than to those of PLA. This gap can of course be closed by keeping the spool heated while printing. In injection molding, the whole amount needed for the part produced is always heated up and melted all at once. For TPU, there's another obstacle to overcome, and that's the squishy nature of the filament. Since we can't just pressurize the liquid plastic, as it is done in injection molding, we have to push it through the hot end very slowly. Too much force applied can lead to kinks in the filament and therefore jams. When in doubt, try going even slower than the standard profiles already do. The max volumetric speed setting is all you need to change. Apart from changing your whole extruder, there's really not much else you can do here. As for the stringing, even on a perfectly dialed-in system, you can't prevent at least a tiny bit of leftover material. But there's another neat feature you can use, and that's avoid crossing perimeters is a very helpful option if you're struggling with stringing and can spare a bit of extra print time. By default, the slicer determines the shortest path from where the printhead is to where it needs to be. This is always a straight line, and also the reason why stringing often looks like a thin wall on simple parts with uniform layers. While this at least makes the strings easy to remove, there's a better way to avoid them altogether. By enabling avoid crossing perimeters, the extruder will take a detour through charted territory, meaning it will follow the path of an already printed feature. Leftover material will get caught onto those parts of the print instead of being spanned over gaps. You can see the difference very clearly when turning on the travel move visualization. Those lines might as well be the strings you're witnessing on your part after printing. Since the actual printing speed is by far the slowest movement when printing flexibles, the extra movement distance the printhead has to take doesn't impact the overall print time as much as with other materials. A fast-moving printer can shave off a few additional minutes compared to a slow one. The total impact is largely determined by the model you're printing, of course. In my opinion, a better result is always worth a few extra minutes of print time. Speaking of which, there's one thing I won't get tired of advocating against, and that's Z-Top can make the print quality worse in many scenarios. I even made a whole video about that topic. Now, while there are a few instances where Z-Top can help to prevent nozzle crashes, with TPU there's even less reason to use it. Why? Because even if the nozzle collides with a printed section, which it never does as long as there are no curled overhangs or parts warping from the build plate, the flexible material will simply bend over. The chances of having a layer shift because of skipped steps on the axis motors is virtually zero. I'm sure someone has a very rare edge case where this happens, but it's literally a chance in a million.
Is that unusual? Oh yeah, chance in a million.
What having it enabled does, though, is pulling a string from the surface of your print upwards instead of wiping the excess material off. So even with avoid crossing perimeters enabled, this can increase stringing once again. For me, there's zero upside having Z-Top enabled, and I always turn it off. It also slows down the print a bit, but that's really not the worst thing it does. I know the slanted Z-top feature of Orca Slicer mitigates those drawbacks, but for me it's just a crutch for something I just don't use at all. As far as warping goes, there's nothing you have to worry about. The odds are you very likely will have much more trouble getting the part off the build plate than you'll ever have the part come loose. Which leads me to the next topic. With flexible materials, this is a big one, but in different ways than you might be used to. TPU is sticky, very sticky, and in fact it's so sticky that it might rip out parts of your build plate's coating. So the first and most important thing is to create a separation layer by using PVA glue. That's the stuff sold as glue stick or wood glue. Apply a little bit mixed with some water and brush it onto your print bed while heating it up to around 50 degrees C. Once there's nothing left to see, you're set. Flexible build plates, which are the absolute default nowadays, won't help you much to remove flexible prints, if at all. The part will simply flex along with the plate. The PVA glue will help you a lot to get the part off. If there are any residues on your print, you can simply wash it off with some water. As for the print temperature, I've moved on to not heating the bed at all a long time ago. Some filament vendors recommend bed temperatures of 50 degrees C or more, but in my experience that's a total waste of energy. But don't just take my word for it. If you experience any kind of adhesion problems, you better stick to the manufacturer's recommendations. There's another thing universally recommended by every manufacturer, and it's about food. So far I had no problems just keeping my spools in sealed containers. My oldest spool is over half a decade old and never gave me any trouble. Keeping them dry is very important with TPU since it doesn't hide imperfections as well as other materials do. I'm usually on team, why bother if I don't need max strength and visual perfection, but with TPU this line is crossed very quickly. Removing strings isn't nearly as easy as with other materials, and the surface of parts printed with moist material gets very bubbly. So as always, the number one priority is keeping them spools dry, and if they arrive moist, or you've been neglecting them for whatever reason, dry them before printing. You'll notice very quickly when something's wrong by the looks and the crackling sound when printing. That's it for now. Wait, there's more! One more thing I almost forgot about, which caused me a lot of issues in the past, and that's depending on your filament's diameter tolerances, the rolling resistance of your spool holder, and a few other factors, you might end up with separating perimeters. Since the majority of 3D printers simply measure the length of the extruded filament, the amount of material might end up being way too less with TPU. The explanation is simple. The filament stretches thin when pulled. You can compensate for this by adjusting the flow rate, also known as extrusion factor. The default Prusa Mark III profiles have it already set to 1.15, that means 15% more material extruded. I went as far as setting it to 1.25 for the Amazon Basics TPU I use. I rather aim for a bit of over-extrusion than risking separating perimeters. Adjusting the filament diameter in the slicer basically achieves the same thing, but I never touch this value. Just a personal preference. On most printers you can also adjust the flow rate on the fly while printing. This can be very helpful for finding the right value without having to restart the print over and over again. There's a huge beginner trap though. The flow rate you set in the slicer is unknown to the printer. It will simply be applied as a factor to all extruder movements. So if you want to do a manual calibration, set it to 1 in the slicer and crank it up on the printer until you're satisfied. Then apply this number to your filament profile. Or keep the slicer's ratio and do the math afterwards. I don't judge. On Bamboo machines you can't just adjust the flow ratio on the fly, but it's also less of an issue since those printers adjust their flow rate dynamically using an eddy current sensor. Oddly enough, I had flow ratio trouble with PETG, but not with TPU on my A1 Mini. And if the stuff I mentioned here sounds confusing to you, check out my course Slicing with Confidence, where I explain all important slicer features, how they are used and what they are most useful for. Alright, you made it to the actual end of the video. Subscribe over here, watch another one over there, yada yada. See you in the next one.